Hello, and welcome to Rise and Thrives. Today we are going to explore a fantastic secret about the female brain, one that unlocks a level of attraction most men totally miss. When you understand this, you'll never look at attraction the same way again. Your nervous system is scanning for specific behavioral patterns all the time. This is automatic, unconscious, and happening right now as you read these words. Neuroscience reveals something remarkable. The male brain becomes hyper-responsive to certain subtle, often unconscious, feminine behaviors. These aren't obvious things like physical appearance or overt verbal communication. Instead, they are subtle energetic patterns that bypass the analytical mind and speak directly to the most primitive, instinctual parts of the brain. In our study, we have found that when a woman learns those silent skills, she establishes what we call a pattern interrupt in a man's brain. In other words, this interruption is so potent it literally changes the man's brainwave patterns. Using state-of-the-art EEG technology, we can actually see when his patterns of thinking and communicating are interrupted by those feminine ways. Your brain constantly makes predictions about its environment, seeking familiar patterns to maintain a sense of predictability. When it encounters something unexpected, something that doesn't fit its preconceived notions, a magical thing happens. The brain becomes intensely alert, focused, and incredibly receptive to new information. This is precisely what occurs when a woman skillfully employs these subtle, silent behaviors. The biology is clear. Men are hardwired to notice these specific patterns. It's not a choice. It's ingrained in the very structure of the male nervous system. When these patterns are present, they trigger a cascade of neurochemical responses that create an almost irresistible attraction. This isn't just about attraction. It's about understanding and working with the fundamental nature of human consciousness and connection. Let's explore these patterns in detail. Pattern 1. Energetic sovereignty. Most people are unaware that they are broadcasting their emotional state constantly into the quantum field around them. Women who master this first pattern know something profound. They know how to regulate and maintain their energy field, regardless of external circumstances. Consider this. When most people encounter stress or challenges, their energy shifts. They become reactive, their heart rate variability decreases, and they emanate what we call incoherent energy. But women who have learned energetic sovereignty do something entirely different. In our research, we've seen these women maintain what we call heart coherence, even in difficult circumstances. Imagine a woman who remains completely centered and calm when everyone else is losing their emotional balance. This isn't just attractive, it's magnetically irresistible to the male brain. Why? Because the male nervous system is specifically designed to detect and respond to this kind of emotional stability. Now let's look at a real-life example from our workshops. We had one participant we can call Sarah, who was in continuous validation-seeking behavior with men, which made her energy fluctuate very wildly as they responded or reacted to her. Through this process, she discovered maintaining her energetic sovereignty. Change is amazing. In weeks' time, she experienced the difference from men. Men didn't only find her attractive, they were even attracted magnetically towards her. The science behind this is appealing. When you maintain coherent energy, you impact the electromagnetic field around your heart. This field extends several feet beyond your body and can be measured with sophisticated equipment. We've discovered this field directly influences the nervous systems of those around you, especially men who are naturally attuned to these subtle energetic signals. The quantum field effects are even more fascinating. Every thought and emotion creates ripples in the quantum field. Women who master this pattern learn to consciously generate elevated emotional states. They're not just avoiding negative emotions. They're actively cultivating high-frequency emotions like gratitude, joy, and inner peace. This isn't about suppressing emotions or faking a smile. It's about developing true emotional mastery. These women have learned to process and transmute lower emotions quickly, even under pressure, and thus maintain their energetic sovereignty. They know that every emotion is just energy in motion, and they have learned to direct this energy consciously. The real-world applications are profound. Whether you're in a business meeting, on a date, or simply walking down the street, maintaining energetic sovereignty creates a palpable field of attraction. Men literally feel different in your presence. Their nervous systems begin to entrain with your coherent field, creating a sense of peace and stability. They may not even consciously understand why, but they feel it. Here is a practical exercise. When you feel your energy becoming scattered or reactive, bring your attention to your heart center. Begin breathing slowly and deeply, imagining each breath coming in and going out through your heart. As you do this, cultivate a feeling of appreciation or gratitude. Within minutes, your heart rhythm becomes more coherent, and this coherence radiates outward, affecting everyone around you. Remarkably, this isn't just theory. We can measure these changes using heart rate variability monitors. We see the exact moment someone shifts into coherence, and more fascinatingly, we can measure how this coherence affects others nearby. The male brain is particularly responsive to these coherent fields, often synchronizing with them unconsciously. Remember, this isn't to attract or impress anybody, but master your own energetic state and, therefore, become sovereign in your own energy field. There's nothing natural about attraction when you have mastered the present moment. It simply happens on its own. Men feel this authentic power, this unshakable presence, and are naturally drawn to it because it says something deep within their being. Pattern 2. Mastering the moment. Most women, and indeed most people, live in loops of anticipation all the time. They're worried about what could happen, what might go wrong, or what others are going to think. But interestingly, there is a significant pull for a woman who's totally in the moment with her complete presence to the male brain. Your thoughts about the future create specific neural networks, firing the same circuits repeatedly. Those anticipation loops become well-worn paths in your mind. But when you break these loops, something great happens. You make room for new neural pathways to emerge. That's where the magic begins. In our research, we've seen something quite remarkable. When a woman learns to break these anticipation loops and stay fully present, her entire nervous system shifts. Her brainwave patterns change from beta, the usual stress and planning mode, to alpha and theta states, the same brainwave pattern seen in advanced meditators. And here's the key. These brainwave patterns are incredibly attractive to the male nervous system. Let me share a very real story from our advanced workshops. We had a participant who constantly planned her responses in conversations with men. She was always thinking ahead, trying to say the right thing, striving for perfection. Through our work, she learned to break this pattern. Instead of anticipating, she learned to stay fully present in each moment. The change in how men responded to her was immediate and dramatic. When you're fully present, you activate what neuroscientists call the default mode network in your brain. This network allows you to process information more deeply and respond more authentically. Men sense this authenticity. It's like a beacon that cuts through social masks and pretenses. Here's a practical technique. Start paying attention to when your mind drifts into anticipation mode. Notice how often you're thinking about what might happen next. Instead of being fully present, each time you catch yourself, bring your awareness back to your body, back to your breath, back to this moment. This isn't just mindfulness. It's rewiring your neural circuitry. The impact on relationships is profound. When you master present moment awareness, you develop what we call responsive presence. Instead of reacting from old patterns or anticipating future scenarios, you respond freshly to each moment. This creates a dynamic that men find magnetic because it breaks their own predictive patterns. Most social interactions follow predictable scripts, but when you're fully present, you break these scripts naturally. Your responses come from authentic presence, not social conditioning. This pattern interruption is kind of a wake-up call for the male brain. It sparks instant attraction because it's so rare and powerful. In our brain scanning studies, we have seen that when a person is really present, their neural activity becomes more coherent, where different parts of the brain start functioning together in harmony. This coherence is subconsciously detectable by others. The male brain is very sensitive to this kind of coherent presence. A very practical use is this. In dialogue, practice what we call full spectrum listening. That is, do not just hear the words, feel the energy behind them. Attune to slight changes in tone. Notice the space between the words. This kind of presence creates a field of attention that men can literally feel. They actually feel seen and heard for the first time. This neuroplasticity research supports that each time you practice awareness in the present moment, you are building new neural pathways. With time, this becomes your default state, and you do not have to try to be present. You simply are. And this natural, effortless presence creates such a powerful attraction. Remember, this is not about using presence as a technique to attract someone. It's about cultivating real present moment awareness as a way of being. The attraction that results is a natural consequence of operating at this higher level of consciousness. When you're fully present, you become a still point in a chaotic world, and this stillness has an almost gravitational pull on the male psyche. Pattern 3. Mastering your personal energy field. This isn't metaphysical speculation. It's hardcore science we can measure and validate in our labs. Your heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in your body, radiating several feet beyond your physical form. And this field directly impacts everyone around you. Let me share something extraordinary from our heart-brain coherence research. When a woman masters her personal energy field, her heart starts producing what we call a coherent electromagnetic signature. Using magnetometers, we can measure how this field affects the brain patterns of people nearby, especially men. The male cardiovascular system is particularly sensitive to these coherent heart fields. That has been documented in our research. When a woman maintains high heart coherence, her electromagnetic field is so powerful that it can synchronize the heart rhythms of people within a 6-foot radius. That's right. Just think about it. You're entraining their biological systems simply by being in a coherent state, without saying a word, without doing anything obvious. The science is revolutionary. Your heart's electromagnetic field carries emotional information. When you're feeling higher emotions such as gratitude, appreciation, or joy, this information is broadcast through your field and can be detected by others' nervous systems. It's like having a wireless broadcast system built into your biology. In our advanced workshops, we demonstrate this effect by using heart rate variability monitors. We have a woman who has mastered these principles sit quietly in a room without any verbal communication. We can measure how her coherent heart field begins to influence the heart rhythms of others in the room, particularly men. The effect is strongest when she's maintaining a sustained, coherent state. The impact on interpersonal dynamics is profound. When you learn to consciously manage your heart field coherence, you create what we call an attractor field. This isn't about manipulation. It's about broadcasting a clear, coherent signal that naturally draws others toward your energy. Men are particularly responsive to this because their nervous systems are designed to detect and respond to these subtle electromagnetic cues. According to scientific validation, when someone is entering the coherent field of an individual with a high coherence of heart rhythms, their brain wave patterns begin to change. Their frontal lobes become more harmonized, levels of stress hormones reduce, and the nervous system goes to a state that is closer to balance. Here's the difference. This isn't just a matter of feeling calm or at peace. It is about being in coherent energy, even under intense conditions. Women who grasp this pattern learn how to produce what we call resilient coherence. Her field becomes strong and stable regardless of external conditions. In short, it's very attractive to the male brain that's continually scanning for emotional security indicators. The electromagnetic studies reveal something else very interesting. When you're sustaining coherent energy, your field will become more ordered and not as chaotic. This organized field has a measurable impact on the biological systems of those around you. It's like creating an island of coherence in a sea of chaos, and others naturally gravitate toward this coherence. Think about times when you've been around someone who just feels good to be near. That's coherent energy in action. Now imagine being able to consciously generate and maintain that field. This isn't about becoming someone different. It's about amplifying your natural coherence and learning to maintain it consistently. Remember, your personal energy field is broadcasting 24/7. Every thought, every emotion, every state you maintain is being transmitted through this field. When you master this pattern, you're not just changing how you feel. You're literally changing the energy you contribute to every environment you enter. Pattern 4. Elevated emotional states. Most people are addicted to lower emotional states without even knowing it. They're addicted to stress, worry, and not feeling good enough. But the women who master this pattern have learned something extraordinary: how to break free from these emotional addictions and sustain elevated emotional states. With each emotional experience, the brain emits certain chemicals. Those chemicals can be likened to a drug that your body needs. Most of us are locked into what we describe as an emotional feedback loop, recreating the same lower emotions because our bodies have become addicted to those chemical states. But let me tell you what happens when you break this addiction. When you consistently choose elevated emotions, genuine joy, authentic gratitude, real inner peace, you literally rewire your brain's chemistry. Your body starts producing what we call elevated emotional signatures. These signatures aren't just feelings. They are measurable changes in your biology. We've seen something remarkable in our research labs. When women learn to sustain these elevated states, their brain chemistry dramatically shifts. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline decrease, while beneficial chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin increase. This creates what we call a biological state of attraction, a state that men can literally sense on a physiological level. What makes this pattern so strong? It's not performing or pretending. Women often seem happy or confident. The male brain detects false feelings instantly, and this is a pattern for true, long-term joy from the inside out. To break the addiction for the lower emotion and replace those with authentic high states. We had one participant in our advanced workshops who was cycling through anxiety and self-doubt. Brain training and emotional reconditioning helped her break the pattern. It wasn't just an inner shift, but outward too, in the response of men around her. Why? Because she was no longer broadcasting the frequency of need or anxiety. She was radiating authentic joy and inner fulfillment. The evidence for neuroplasticity couldn't be clearer. Consistent maintenance of elevated emotional states creates new neural networks. Your brain literally rewires itself to make these higher states your new normal. This is not positive thinking. It's biological transformation. We can see these changes on brain scans, showing increased activity in areas associated with well-being and decreased activity in areas associated with stress and fear. When you maintain these elevated states, you activate what scientists call the pleasure centers of your brain. But unlike artificial stimulation, this activation is sustainable. You're not chasing external validation or temporary highs. You're creating a stable, elevated baseline that becomes your new normal. Most people broadcast frequencies of stress, worry, and lack. But when you master this pattern, you broadcast frequencies of joy, abundance, and inner fulfillment. It's such a contrast that creates a pattern interruption in the male brain. They cannot help but notice because it is so rare and real. It has nothing to do with hiding the bad stuff or being fake positive, but about recognizing you can control your emotional state, break the old addictive patterns, and create new elevated baselines. When you master this, you become what we call an emotional anchor, someone whose presence naturally elevates the emotional state of others. Every emotion has a specific frequency. When you consistently operate at higher emotional frequencies, you become like a tuning fork helping others resonate at these higher levels too. This is particularly powerful in male-female dynamics because men are naturally drawn to authentic emotional elevation. In other words, integrating the patterns, a quantum leap in personal magnetism. When you weave together energetic sovereignty, present moment mastery, personal field coherence, and elevated emotional states, something magical occurs. These patterns don't just add together. They multiply, creating what we call a quantum leap in personal magnetism. Here is your daily practice framework. Start each morning calibrating your energy field. Spend 15 minutes in heart coherence meditation, generating those elevated emotional states we have discussed. It's not meditation. It is reconfiguring your entire electromagnetic field for the day ahead. Throughout the day, use what we call pattern anchors, specific moments when you check in with your presence, your energy field, and your emotional state. This might be every time you check your phone, every time you walk through a doorway, or every time you meet someone new. Anchors keep things steady and consistent in coherence. Transformation markers are observable. In our research, we monitor several key markers: patterns in heart rate variability, coherence in brainwaves, levels of stress hormones, and the strength of electromagnetic fields. If we monitor you regularly, we see all these markers start to change, specifically when you are regularly practicing these patterns. Your heart rhythm becomes more orderly, your brainwaves show more gamma activity, and your field becomes more coherent. And the scientific evidence is compelling. Using advanced monitoring equipment, we can actually see the moment at which someone shifts into this integrated state. Their brain patterns change, their heart field becomes more organized, and their presence becomes more magnetic. This isn't subjective. It's a measurable biological change. Look for these specific signs of transformation. People will respond to you differently, particularly men. They'll maintain longer eye contact, lean in when you speak, and seem more engaged in your presence. You'll find yourself naturally maintaining elevated states even in challenging situations. You will notice an increase in synchronicities, that is, meaningful coincidences that seem to line up with your intentions. Keep in mind, this integration isn't about being perfect. It's about moving forward. Each time you work these patterns, you are fortifying new neural pathways and developing more coherent energy fields. This change becomes exponential as these patterns start to support one another. In this instant, you stand at the gateway of transformation. Close your eyes and connect with your future self, the woman who has mastered these patterns, who moves through life with unshakable presence, who naturally creates magnetic attraction without effort. That future self isn't just a possibility. It's a biological inevitability. When you commit to these practices, your brain is designed for this evolution. Every time you practice these patterns, you're not only changing your behavior, you're literally changing your biology. You're creating new neural networks, generating coherent electromagnetic fields, and elevating your consciousness to new levels of being. A year from now, you could be operating from an entirely new baseline. Your presence may be so powerful, so authentic, that attraction might become effortless. Men will be attracted not by how you look or what you say, but by your energy field, by your presence, your higher state of being. Science has proven this. These transformations are real, measurable. They can be seen in brain scans, measured in heart rhythms, even in electromagnetic field patterns. But the most profound evidence will be in your lived experience, in the way people respond to you, in the opportunities that naturally flow your way, in the relationships that align with your elevated state. This isn't about becoming someone different. It's about awakening what's already within you. You already have everything you need. These patterns are natural to your biology. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient, something coded into your very DNA. The time for transformation is now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Every moment you maintain these patterns, you're contributing to the evolution of human consciousness. You're becoming a living example of what's possible when a woman steps fully into her power. Make this commitment to yourself. Commit to practicing these patterns until they become your natural way of being. Your transformation isn't just about you. It's about elevating the consciousness of everyone around you. This is your moment. Step into it fully, completely, without reservation. The future self you've envisioned is waiting for you to become her.